online class. The particularly today, so we'll discuss the MGPE-008, another book as per your that program. The subject code is MGPE-008, that Gandhian approach to peace and conflict resolution. Okay, so the last three classes, that was the non-violent movement. बहुत किसी शुणिले नॉन भायोलेंट विषय रे भायोलेंट आउ करिवा नहीं तेणु वर्तमान the situation what we want, that I will ask to all the learner that whether they want peace or conflict. Peace or conflict? कोटा चांचो ना peace and conflict रो resolution करिवा. That the today's topic, the Gandhian approach to peace and conflict resolution. So throughout the history, you see that always that conflict is that welcome the violence, terror, and all the destruction, devastation, everything. So the conflict is always a negative thought. So peace is positive thought. So today we will see that how Gandhian approach to peace and conflict that has brought the world peace, and how it is touched the heart of the world family. So Gandhian ideas of the peace and conflict resolution is an extraordinary that outcome of Gandhian philosophy. So today the topic what has been included in this course, and just I will start regarding the short note about the course in detail. Total MGP-008. Total MGP-008. So, just a brief introduction to the subject MGP-008. Just I am telling. Next, so I will just give you the presentation, the entire topic. That means the unit wise. Dear learner, you see in the studies on peace and conflict resolution, the role of Gandhi is often a subject of intense discussion and appreciation. Because Gandhi, by his action and conviction, demonstrated to the world that a solution to the most serious conflict could be worked out through non-violence. The most serious conflict through non-violence, because Gandhi has expressed this idea out of his experience during the British imperialism, British colonialism. Not only here, and what I was discussing is that approach in that Poland and also the South Africa. That major conflict, how he is solved through non-violence way. So the philosophy, the methods and approaches of Gandhi towards non-violence and truth, the twin principles. The twin principles, that is non-violence and truth. The twin principle he followed all through his life. That means these are the two that particularly that instrument or means through which he wants to solve the entire problems and conflict in the world. So that the philosophy, the methods, and the approaches of Gandhi towards nonviolence and truth, the twin principle he followed all through his life, has already been discussed in the MGP-7. Is not it? ଆମେ ଯାହା ସବୁ nonviolence ଏବଂ truth ବିଷୟରେ ଏବଂ କେମିତି nonviolent movement after Gandhi, everything we have discussed in the MGP-7. So it is interesting to note, dear learner, it is interesting to note that it is through these principles that he attained the status of being a votary of peace. He is that symbol of peace. He is the monk of peace, and Gandhi is the founder of peace in the world. So in this subject of a course, that MGP-8, the learner will understand the nature of some of the conflicts or problems. कि प्रकारर जो द्वंद्व कि प्रकारर समस्या ये सब कथा जानिबा, and that have been that preventing to the, that means the torture the humanity since long. So Gandhi believed in the divine as well as that brute nature that is inherent in man. प्रत्येक मनुष्य पाखरे पशुपणिया अच्छी निश्चित, but so he appeared to the humanity to develop the virtues of understanding, respect, tolerance, and cooperation in interpersonal relationship. A peaceful environment is said to be prevailing only when a man is at peace with the fellow human beings. खाली जोड़े हेले ही जीवे. A peaceful environment is said to be prevailing only when man is at peace with his fellow human beings. मु खाली एकिटे चाहिए होता. तनु जेतबले आमे शांति आनिबा, आमे कोचु आमे शांति आनिबा. तमाने I myself and also my that fellow human being, they should also cooperate. So it is said that Gandhi was a lifelong practitioner of conducting major conflicts and a profound conflict theorist. एइथପାଇଁ तम कुहा जाय गुटे माने द्वंद्वर तत्वविद. A wide range of literature focused on the risk involved in the conflict situation and how amicably the conflict could be solved. विराट बड़ देखाउ जो गंडगोल हेछि गांधी जीवे सेठी एभली भाबरे तांकर जो नॉन वायलेंस एंड द ट्रुथ जो टू सोड एभली भाबरे से यूज करते से विराट बड़ जो द्वंद्व समस्या से एक सरल सेटा समाधान हेले. So admittedly his initiatives served as an exemplary model to the movement of thoughts across the world and found ready acceptance. ये जो कथा कि गांधी एते बड़ जो समस्या को जेतबेले देखंती गांधी पहुंचले गोटे स्वतंत्र सम्मान बोधे हुए ताके पाखु आसे. सो जोति पे এবং তাଙ୍କର চিন্তাধারা yes
স্যার
কোনটো
প্রেজেন্টেশনটা দেখা যাওনি.
কোনটা দেখা দিব
স্যার প্রেজেন্টেশন দেখা যাওনি.
প্রেজেন্টেশন দেখেন স্যার মু জস্ট মু কোর্স উপরে এন্টার কোর্স উপরে খালি মু দেখে নাই এ পর্যন্ত. মু যে কোর্স উপরে জস্ট কହୁଛି MGP 8 টা को স্যার শুনନ୍ତୁ MGP 8 টা কোন ଗୋଟେ ଫଣ୍ଡାମେଣ୍ଟାଲ ଆଇଡିଆ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଦଉଛି. ମୁଁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଦେଖେଇବି ସେତେବେଳେ ୟୁନିଟ୍ 1 ପାଖରୁ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଦେଖେଇବି. ତେଣୁ ପିଲାମାନେ ଜାଣନ୍ତୁ କନଫ୍ଲିକ୍ଟ ରିଜଲ୍ୟୁସନ କେମିତି
ଓକେ ସାର୍. ଓକେ
so that is why
ନା ଠିକ ଅଛି ଠିକ ଅଛି
that is why
ଓକେ ଓକେ ସାର୍
world has accepted Gandhi as a that particularly votary of peace. So that Gandhi follows three important norms for conflict resolution. That this norm relates to that goal and conflict, and say that one should act in conflicts, define the conflict well, and have a that positive approach to conflict. এবং ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି that this norm relates to conflict struggle and enjoins one to act violent in conflicts. ଏବଂ another that conflict that norms se କହୁଛନ୍ତି କ'ଣ ନା this norms that conflict resolution, this norms relates to conflict resolution entity that directs that conflict should be solved through that conversion rather than coercion. ତେଣୁ ଆପୋଷ କଥାବାର୍ତ୍ତାରେ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ସମାଧାନ ହେଉଛି ଅନେକ କଥା. Where is that instead of that coercion, so Gandhi follows always to solve the problem through persuasion. କେମିତି ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କୁ ବୁଝେଇ ସୁଝେଇ ପ୍ରବର୍ତ୍ତେଇକି କେମିତି ସମାଧାନ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଚାହୁଁଛି. ସୋ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ MGP-008 ରେ particularly ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ବିଷୟ କଥା କେମିତି ବଡ଼ ବଡ଼ ଧରଣର ଯୋଉ ଗଣ୍ଡଗୋଳ ବା ସାରା ଯୋଉ ଭାରତବର୍ଷ ତଥା ବିଶ୍ୱରେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଆମେ କାଲି ଯୋଉ କଥା କହୁଥିଲେ ଯୋଉ particularly that solidarity movement ଯୋଉ ପୋଲାଣ୍ଡରେ ବା ସାଉଥ ଆଫ୍ରିକାର ରେସିଆଲ ଡିସ୍କ୍ରିମିନେସନ କଥା ବା ଭାରତର ବିଭିନ୍ନ ଜାଗାରେ ଯୋଉ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ସବୁ ହେଇଛି ତାକୁ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ସମାଧାନ କରିଥିଲା. So therefore the study that subject Gandhian approach to conflict resolution is an attempt to familiarize the student with the intricacies involved the peace and conflict resolution studies like concepts, methods, approaches and case studies. तो कौन लर्नर एथुर जानिबे ना एमजीपी रे एई जो प्रकार चिंताधारा गांधींकर अछि सेतिरा हम देखिबा जे पीस एंड कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रिजोल्यूशन जो अध्ययन रु हम जानिबा किबळी जे पीस एवं कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रिजोल्यूशन रो धारणा कोन एवं व्हाट टाइप ऑफ मेथड्स and approaches used by Gandhi, and that Gandhi has presented some case study also. So this was the fundamental idea and the just a brief idea about the MGP-008, that is Gandhian approach to peace and conflict resolution. Now we'll start, and the learners are very much that interested for presentation. Okay. Is it audible? Hello? ପିଲାମାନେ ଦେଖା ଯାଉଛି? Hello? Hello?
No sir.
Hello? ଦେଖା ଯାଉଛି ତ ଠିକ?
No sir. Yes sir.
ଦେଖା ଯାଉନି?
हाँ देखा जाओ sir.
Okay. Now,
visible sir.
Sir, is it clear?
Visible.
It is. It is not visible.
Clearly visible.
Acha, okay.
Yes,
So we'll
it is
start.
visible.
Yes sir.
ପିଲାମାନେ ଯାହାକୁ ଭିଜିବୁଲ ନା ହଉ ସେ ଆଉ ଥରେ ମାନେ ଲିଭ୍ କରିକି ପୁଣି ଜଏନ୍ କର ହେଇଯିବ. ମିଟିଂ ରୁ ଲିଭ୍ କରିକି ପୁଣି ଜଏନ୍ କର ହବ.
ସେଟା ଟିକେ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ହଉଛି, ନେଟୱାର୍କ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ହଉଥିବ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କର, ଜାଣି ପାରୁନାହାନ୍ତି. ସେଟାକୁ ଯୋଉ ଆଉ ଥରେ ଲିଙ୍କ ଟାକୁ ଆଡ୍ କରିଦେଲେ ସେଟା ଆସିଯିବ. ଓକେ, ସୋ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଆମେ ଇଏ କରିବା ପ୍ରେଜେଣ୍ଟେସନ ୟୁନିଟ୍ ୱାଇଜ, that is unit 1 understanding peace. Peace ଟାକୁ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ବୁଝିବା, peace କ'ଣ. So this topic ensures that student regarding the concept and the nature of peace. The peace refers to an absence of hostility, that safety in matters of social or economic welfare, the acknowledgement of equality and fairness in the political relationship. Peace is the ability to handle conflict Peace is the ability to handle conflict by peaceful means. It is the very synthesis sentence. You see, peace is the ability, that means of a person, of a group, to handle conflict by peaceful means. Peace is a virtue, a state of mind, a disposition for benevolence, confidence, and justice. The comprehensive notion of a peace touches upon many issues that influence quality of life, including the personal growth, freedom, social equality, economic equality, solidarity, autonomy, and that participation. गोटे विराट बड़ कन्फ्लिक्ट को जितेबले गोटे जड़े व्यक्तित्व तार पीसफुल मीन्स रे समाधान कर दिए सेतेबले निश्चित भाव में सम्मान पात्र से होता है ऑटोमेटिकली द नेम फेम रेस्पेक्ट एवरीथिंग विल कम टू हिम व्हाट Gandhian approved says. So in simple you can say peace is a concept of societal fancy and that harmony in the absence of hostility and violence. In a social sense, आमे सामाजिक दृष्टिकोण कोन कहबा ना peace is commonly used to mean a lack of conflict, such as war, and freedom from fear of violence between individual or groups. जो कि युद्ध नथिबो लोकमानक भितर भय नथिबो स्वाधीनता पाई एवं से प्रकार एक परिवेश को कह दिबो कोन ना जे peaceable circumstances. So now this was the main motto of this understanding peace in particular unit. Now we have to see to understand the concept. ये जो धारणा जो peace, concept of peace. So we must that pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. Peaceful ends हमें peaceful माध्यम रे हमें शांतिर फल को हम केमते हासिल करबो एक कथा गांधी कहते. And true peace is not merely the absence of tension. ते खाली हमें टेंशन बाद हे ना एटा पीस हे गला से कथा नहीं. It is the presence of justice. थोड़ी न्याय मिलथवा दरकार खाली टेंशन ओवर हे ना हबन. So peace has a two dimensions, that is negative dimension and also positive dimension. Negative that dimension, that peace implies a static state where there is an absence of war or violent conflict. जोटी संपूर्ण मात्रा रे अनुपस्थित थिबो उटा जोटा violence or any war, violent conflict and also the war, युद्ध एवं जो हिंसा जो अनुपस्थित थिबो. So anyway, the on the other hand, the positive peace implies a condition where conflicts are addressed and solved. Again, I am telling the concept of a positive peace means that removal of structural violence. The positive peace implies a condition where conflicts are addressed and solved. आसिला समस्या आसिला ताको समाधान करा. And the positive peace means also the removal of structural violence. Peace is the existence of that peaceful relationship, active that association, and planned cooperation among the person and groups for achieving the greater ends such as justice, security, and constructive that transformation of conflict. So to understand peace, the following elements can be included, and these are the peace tradition, peace building approaches, peace movement, conflict transformation, and peace building. So that following elements has been included. So state and civil society as an instrument of peace also. How? State and civil society as an instrument of peace. So how state as an instrument of peace? Let's see. How state as an instrument of peace. राष्ट्र किभଳି भाव एक जो शांतिर माध्यम. So in contemporary times, when the essence of the welfare state is made an instrument, inherent part of the states that function, the state's role in the preservation and the promotion of peace has undergone a great change. राष्ट्र जेतेबेले जनमंगल राष्ट्र परिचय नहीं सेतेबेले निश्चित भाव the preservation and the promotion of peace has undergone a great change. The important point is that society and state are now entrusted with the new responsibilities in the task of promoting peace. उभय राष्ट्र एवं समाज उभय दायित्व नहीं किभଳି भाବରେ शांति आसवा कहीं जो सिविल सोसाइटी और स्टेट तो सिविल सोसाइटी डिमांड करिवो एभଳି भागे जो समाधान पाई और स्टेट ताको कोऑपरेट करिवो. So the state has that gradually evolved to provide a framework for orderly organization of society. Tanu that state and civil society क्षेत्र रे आमे देखिबा राष्ट्र एई भली भाबरे जे रोल करूछि. Secondly, civil society as an instrument of peace. How? कारण state and civil society उभय मिसिकी माने शांतिटा को कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रिजोल्यूशन करते एवं शांतिटा यदि आसीबो समाज रे तो ओई दुई जन को पई आसी पारे. कोन ना द सिविल सोसाइटी इज एन इंस्ट्रूमेंट ऑफ पीस. हाउ? ना अपार्ट फ्रॉम द स्टेट देयर आर other institutions in the society which also play a role in the containing that conflict and restoring peace. केवल राष्ट्र जे समाधान करछि से कथा में राष्ट्र बाद अन्यान्य अनुष्ठान गुडी को अछंती जो माने कि शांति को स्वागत करथि. एंड दिस सेट ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशन समटाइम्स दैट नेटवर्क्स ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशन इज कॉल्ड सिविल सोसाइटी. सभ्य समाज नागरिक समाज. So the NGOs, the community welfare organization and other such institutions undertake many programs to promote national integration. Not only the state is giving the direction, the state is creating the atmosphere, but the state's plan and program are also that accelerated by these organizations. So the state and civil society as an instrument of peace. Next, we have to see that Gandhi as an ambassador of peace. किभଳି भाବରେ शांतिर दूत गांधी किभଳି शांतिर दूत वर्तमान आमे प्रमाण करिबा एवं तार गांधीयन दैट पर्सपेक्टिव. According to Gandhi, universal responsibility is the key to human survival. According to Gandhi, universal responsibility, not a single man's responsibility, that is universality responsibility is the key to human survival. काली हमें पढ़ी परिवेश कथा कौन जड़े लोक परिवेश को चेंज करे जो ग्रीन पीस मूवमेंट कौन जड़े लोक कौन चिंता करथिला ना. इट इज द रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ ऑल. So Gandhi कहते the universal effort is needed. So it is the best foundation for world peace. Gandhi is universally known as that apostle of peace and non-violence. Gandhi himself made a skillful use of that satyagraha to achieve peace and harmony. He said the root of every violence or conflict is untruth. And the only permanent solution is truth. So, in a very that diplomatic way, his philosophical diplomatic way, so he tried to understand that how that he said the root of every violence or conflict is untruth. जोटी जेते सब असत्य सब द्वंद्वर कारण. तेणु जोटी सत्य अच्छी सेठी शांति अच्छी. So he that conceived the novel technique of satyagraha. Therefore, Gandhi traces on the satyagraha is the most pointed method of ensuring on that enduring peace. यदि चिर शांति गोटे समाज ପାଇଁ शांति यदि आनिबा हुए ताहले जे सबुठारु उत्कृष्ट धरण मेथड होछि कोन ना दैट इज सत्याग्रह. That means whatever things will start, that should be in that truth way. Non-violence and the truth is the means for which that conflict can be resolved. So we'll see that how Gandhi has used truth and non-violence as the means to for that conflict resolution. Gandhi has adopted twin principle, the truth and non-violence, to resolve peace in conflict situation. Gandhi decided his life to the wider purpose of discovering truth or satya. Satya. Gandhi summarized his beliefs first when he said. So, dear learner, try to listen and concentrate the idea of Gandhi in this regard. That Gandhi summarized his beliefs first when he said, God is a truth. Bhagavan hotundi satya. He changed this that statement later that truth is God. प्रथमे कहिथिले कोन ना God is a truth. तापर के ना 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 सेटा ठीक नहीं. When he observed the situation, the society, the conflict situation in the society and the state, so he changed his that version that truth is God. Satya hochi Bhagavan. To tell the truth, one must be courageous. So that particularly treading the path of truth is a continuous and unending process which is to be followed by every generation. So it is obvious. So in a particular that truth matter, we show our heroism. But as and when we have just committed certain mistake and we have just accepted some wrong way, so we will retreat to express our voice. So our voice will be changed, and as if we that we are leaving some that fault. এইভাবে লাগবে পার্টি আফা পাই যাব এবং আমি সত্য কথা কই পারিবেন অটোমেটিক মানে অনট্রুথটা পড়ি আসিব হচ্ছে আগে. তেণু গান্ধী's is a opinion that the path of truth is a continuous and unending process and which has to be followed by every generation. प्रत्येक पीढ़ी एकु जानिबा दरकार. The concept and means of social transformation and reformation proceeded in Gandhi's mind before they are applied as a mass weapon to political ends against the British. जो कथा कि ए सत्यर जो पुजारी हिसाब रे से पराक्रमी ब्रिटिश शासन को विरुद्ध रे स्वर उत्तोलन करी किबळे भाव रे जे समानकर जो मास वेपन हमर जो जनसाधारणकर जो सबने तो मास वेपन मेटी गांधी कर किए सत्याग्रही तेणु यूज करी किबळे भाव रे राजनीतिक फल राजनीतिक जो रिजल्ट से होची पाई ये होची ट्रूथ रो गोटे माने मीन्स ट्रूथ इज ए मीन्स फॉर द conflict resolution. Another is that non-violence. Another is non-violence. How how non-violence is treated as the means of that peace resolution. Gandhi conceived non-violence as weapon of courageous and devoted people to the particular cause. Again, I'm telling Gandhi conceived non-violence as a weapon. ଅହିଂସାକୁ ଅହିଂସାକୁ ସେ କଣ that ଏକ ଅସ୍ତ୍ର ଭାବରେ weapon of courage and devoted people to the particular cause. Gandhi was the first to apply non-violence. Hinsa nuhe ohinsa. In the field of political, in the that particularly in the political field on a massive scale. They do ohinsa को प्रथम से यूज करें 1915 मसीह कोई रखे जेतबले से जॉन कले कोठी इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस साउथ अफ्रीका फेरी जेतबले होची जॉन कले सेतबले किबोई भाग जे ब्रिटिश प्रोग्राम ये कोन अवस्था थिला एवं 1919 लो जो आसिला ब्लैक आइन रोल एक्ट एवं से रोल एक्ट को किबोई भाबरे रोल एक्ट को किबोई भाबरे जो कले कोन जो ऑर्गेनाइज कले टू माने टू दैट ताकू बंद करिया पे एवं किबोली यह एक ब्लैक आइन होची थिला सेतु हम जानिबा जे सर्वप्रथम राजनीतिक फल को पाइबा पाई राजनीतिक फल को से पाइबा पाई कोन करछ ना स्टूडेंट आई एम इन द क्लास ये फोन टा लियो के फोन करछ so that non-violence the Gandhi concept of non-violence as a weapon of courageous and devoted people to the particular cause. And Gandhi was the first to apply non-violence in the political field on a massive scale. What we have learned from the three important movements, national movement for our country. Gandhi derived the ideas of non-violence from the principles of ahimsa parama dharma. That is the principles of ahimsa parama dharma and vasudhaiva kutumbakam. तो ये जो धर्म ये जो प्रिंसिपल ले से होची ताली कोन अहिंसा मोर परम धर्म एवं वसुधैव कुटुंबकम तनो ए होची माने सबको समस्ते समस्तकर जो सुविधा पाए so which meant to earn that complete freedom from ill will anger and hatred and nature to love for all. So Gandhi that stated that non-violence is the rule of conduct for a society. If it is to live consistently with the human dignity and make a total progress towards the attainment of peace. यदि यही उपाय जानती ताले निश्चित भाव में आमे जो शांति पाई परिबा सौहार्द पाई परिबा एवं से शांति कोन हबो ना चिरदिन पई होची होई. It is not a because that peace is permanent when all the people in the society so they will get the minimum standard of living. They will get the freedom. They will emancipate their life from the any sort of exploitation. So that is peace. Hence, we need to build a culture of non-violence that among our children and youth. तो आमे कोन करिबा आमो पिला आमो youth मानक भितरे non-violent motive को आनिबा to ensure that we do not support war toys. केमिति ना पिला मानकु war toys दबानी युद्ध खेलाना ओडा को दबानी ताको मन भितरे आसीबो युद्ध खेलु violent game जोटे की पूरा हिंसात्मक खेलना ए मझिरे जो आसीथिला जो मोबाइल रे जो सुसाइड करथिले जो खेल को देखि बट इंस्टेड प्रमोट ए कल्चर ऑफ दैट रेजिस्टेंस टू इनजस्टिस किंतु गोटे आमे ताका भितर मन भितर गोटे आमे भरी दबा एक चेतना शक्ति जे कोन ना अन्याय विरुद्ध रे प्रतिरोध करू वार गेम न देकी किंबा गोटे भायोलेंट गेम खेलना को न देकी पिला मन भितर कोन ना आमे प्रमोट करिबा ए आइडिया जे गोटे संस्कृति ताका भितर गोटे चेतना भरिबा कोन दैट इज रेजिस्टेंस टू injustice. So a good idea. So that this was the particularly understanding piece, the unity 1. Next, we'll start the unity 2. Part unity 2 says tolerance, harmony, and forgiveness. Tolerance, harmony, and forgiveness. I think this is the principle of that peace and conflict resolution. So in unity 2, what Gandhi and approach says, these three principles enables the learner, that all the student, to understand as complementary to understanding peace. It is complementary to understanding peace. सत्य जो शांति को बुझिया पाई हेले यह को निहायत दरकार because these are associated with the conflict resolution, tolerance, harmony, forgiveness, this trinity. This topic will gives you the knowledge about how our society is that diversified from for various reasons. तो यही थ्रू हमें जानी परिबा and the most alarming condition due to rise in acts of that intolerance, violence, terrorism, aggressiveness, aggressive nationalism, racism, and marginalization, and that discrimination direct against national, ethnic, religious, and linguistic that minorities, all of which that threaten the consolidation of peace, harmony, and development. Right? But why? Because due to absence of tolerance, harmony, and the attitude of forgiveness. So these are happening. So both nationally and internationally, and are obstacles to development. What I told, these are that particularly challenges. You see the nation before the nation. The nation building is hampered due to this particularly intolerance, violence, terrorism, aggressive nationalism, racism, migration, that marginalization of the poor, and also discrimination, the ethnic that revolt, the religious that fundamentalist, and linguistic conflict, and the minorities problem. So all are threatening for the nation building. Challenges, these are the challenges to the nation building. So how the democracy can develop, how the state will develop. So both nationally and internationally, and are obstacle to development. So the emphasis on tolerance and harmony is more essential in this particular situation to bring peace, to conflict resolution and bring peace. So the holistic understanding of man's spiritual quest led Gandhi to adopt and preach a theory of tolerance. Tolerance कौन? सहनशीलता, सहनशीलता भाव, स्वभाव. So to adopt the preach a theory of tolerance, harmony, forgiveness, and the mutual respect founded on truth and non-violence. এবং এই যে গুণগুলিক ସବୁ ଅଛି conflict resolution ରେ ଆଧାର ଆସିବ, the tolerance, harmony, and forgiveness, the trinity, this particular that attitudes, the particular means So that is found in the truth and the non-violence. ତା ସତ୍ୟ ଏବଂ ଅହିଂସା ଭିତରେ ହିଁ ଏଟା ହଉଛି ଅଛି କେମିତି how Gandhi has proved. Gandhi was also pained by the caste-based social structure in India that has constantly followed from time immemorial, and particularly the coercion untouchability. What he has seen in South Africa and also in his own state, which to Gandhi was the greatest sin of all. Because it not only split the discrimination, it not only split the discrimination, the vivedata, but debased a particular section of mankind on an occupational basis. भाग करुले यूनिटी आसुनथला हार्मोनी आसुनथला से छोट जाति से अछुआ जाति. So this was the conflict. So he felt the Indian society is weakened at its very core and embarked in fight against with his heart and soul. एइथिपाई तांका भितरे हार्मोनी आसुनथला बोली जोथिपाई समाने ब्रिटिश शासन को against the fight. So what we will learn in this topic or unit, now this unit particularly will understand the meaning of tolerance, harmony, and forgiveness. How these concepts have been adopted by Gandhi towards peace and conflict resolution, and how that intolerance can be counted, and how tolerance and harmony can be used for maintenance at a community and the international level. So this can be discussed through following points as well. केमिति ना फर्स्ट आमे देखिबा जे टॉलरेंस को टिके बुझिया. टॉलरेंस कोन कोइ टॉलरेंस को बुझिया. That tolerance is an important concept that helps people to live together peacefully. यदि टेंशन रहिबो से समाज उचित नहीं. Suppose for an example, the Ladakh, the Jammu and Kashmir. So the place is under tension. There is no toleration. The attitude of tolerance or concept of tolerance is not found there. The people are always that in a threatening position. Fear of psychosis always grasps them. That every moment they are expecting any violence, terrorist violence, or the particularly two sides that LOC any problem, or the particularly that any tussle, whatever. To be tolerant means that you accept other people's opinions and that preferences even when they live in a way that you don't agree with. Again, I'm telling you, to be tolerant means that you accept other people's opinions and preferences even when they live in a way that you don't agree. तमे चाहून से लोक माने सेठी रहू बा तार जो कथा ऊपर तमरो माने एकमत नाही, किंतु परिस्थिति एभली हबो से समय पाई तांकर चिंताधारा को प्रेफरेंस पाई, कारण परिस्थिति को समाधान पाइबा. तापरे सेटा पुनी परिवर्तन हो सो टॉलरेंस इज द virtue that makes this possible तो यह होची उटे कोन गुण यदि शांति आनिबा पई हेले टॉलरेंस रूपक गुण को जे आमे कोन करिबा ना प्रयोग करिबा to contributes to the replacement of the culture of war by a culture of peace. Tolerance आसीबो ताले समाधान आसीबो तनु वर्तमान लद्दाख रो सिचुएशन बा चाइना जो भली भाबरे आसे सेठी टेंशन अछि किंतु एटी टॉलरेंस न करिबो उभय पक्ष ताले कोन देयर इज पॉसिबल So tolerance is above all an active attitude promoted by recognition of the universal human rights and a fundamental freedom of others. On the other hand, you see another concept is the harmony. Harmony is a situation in which people are peaceful and agree with each other, or when things seems right or suitable to them. So it is the situation. Harmony, that means it is a situation in which people live or work happily together without any big problems. Peace and harmony mean that dealing with that disputes and resolving the conflicts fairly and that properly with neutralization and midway principles. It is for well-being of mankind as a whole. So this is tolerant and harmony. My dear learner, so just I have that very little bit time, but just I want to say a practical that example of the harmony. What is a harmony society and how the disharmony created by the people. My dear student, you might have that seen and you might have heard the problem during the time of a flood or any sort of natural calamity when government that kids or the government that provides some assistance in the form of relief kits. Suppose during the time of flood, there is no communication. So the government will that hell it through the helicopter. Suppose it dropped in a particular house roof. So the people of that family, so they will capture it. This is ours. Or sometimes that it will drop in their land. So it will create that conflict. Suppose rice or the any sort of that dry food, and the nature of a dry food, when the conflict will arise, the nature of a dry food will just like a dust with muddy. So this is disharmony. But harmony arises when that all the people in a tolerant way that distribute these particular kids relief equally. So that is that harmony. ମୁଁ ବେଳେବେଳେ ଯୋଉ ଖେଳ କରେ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ so I was the district program officer for last 12 years ଯେ ଗୋଟେ ହାରମୋନିଟାକୁ ବୁଝିବା ପାଇଁ ମୁଁ ଏହା କରେ ଯେ ଗୋଟେ ବଡ଼ ଜାଗାରେ ଗୋଟେ ରଖିଦେବି ପ୍ଲେସରେ ଗୋଟେ ट्रे बिस्कुट पड़ाई रखिदेवी से बिस्कुट पिलाମାନଙ୍କୁ कौन करी ना डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करा दुई लाइन करदेवी मनकर 10 जन दी साइड रे छिड़ा हले मु समस्त कहबी तुम खंड खंड बिस्कुट दियो बिस्कुट नेला परे केही खाइबनी मु डायरेक्शन देले तब तब खाइबो ना कोन ना केही हाथटा को स्ट्रेट करी खाइबो त माने हाथटा को के होची माने भांगी परिबो कोनी पाखु केही भांगी परिबो स्ट्रेट तमे खाइबो किंतु देखा जो से हम किंतु केही खाइ परिबो से ताका भीतर जे फ्लेवर थिबो से कोन करिबो जे से आगर नै कोन करिबो ना ता सिधारे जो पिला छिड़ा हितो ତାକୁ ନେଇକି ତା ପାଟିରେ ଦବ, ସେ ଆର ପିଲାଟି ଏକୁ ଖୋଇଦବ। ତେଣୁ ଏଠୁ ନିର୍ଭର ହେଲା କ'ଣ ନା ଡିଜାର୍ମୋନି ସୋସାଇଟିକୁ ହାରମୋନି ଆଣିବା ପାଇଁ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଯେ ପାରସ୍ପରିକ ସମ୍ପର୍କର ଆବଶ୍ୟକତା ଅଛି। ତେଣୁ ସେ ଟେକ୍ନିକ୍ ୟୁଜ୍ କଲା ଯେ ମୁଁ ଯଦି ତାକୁ ଖୋଇଦିଏ ସିଏ ମୋତେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଖୋଇଦିଏ। So this is the best example of the harmony society. Anyway, the importance of tolerance and harmony. कौन आवश्यकता अछि conflict resolution पाई importance and tolerance कौन आवश्यकता अछि? So tolerance is that integral to different groups relating to one another in a respectful and understanding way. In case where communities have been deeply entrenched in evident a conflict, being tolerant help the affected group that endure this plan of the pain of the past and resolve their differences. ତେଣୁ ଟଲରେନ୍ସ ଏଇଥିପାଇଁ ହେଉଛି ଆବଶ୍ୟକତା ଅଛି, ଟିକେ ସେ ସହିଯିବ। ତେଣୁ କଷ୍ଟ ପାଉଥିବା ଲୋକଟି ପୁଣି ଥରେ ଆସିବ ଏବଂ ତାଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ ଏକ ବାତାବରଣ ସୃଷ୍ଟି ହେବ। So anyway, the seeds of tolerance, the intolerance is what leads to that hate crimes and discrimination in the absence of their own expenses. Inevitable base their impression and opinions of one another on assumption. So these assumptions can be that influenced by positive and negative belief of those who are either closest or most influential in their lives, including the parents or the other family members, colleagues, educators, or the role models. It means the unwillingness to recognize and respect differences in opinion or beliefs. So, intolerance is through his system. So, then, केमिति that dealing with the tolerance टाकू किभଳି भाबरे हमें यूज करिबा जे डील करिबा to encourage the tolerance parties to a conflict and third parties must demand themselves and others that tolerating the tolerance is that preferable to tolerating intolerance. Conflict transformation तमाने सेठी कोन थर्ड पार्टी के जने आसी ताक भितरे कोन जे डेवलप करिवो टॉलरेंस एटीट्यूड। इटा होची द डीलिंग ऑफ intolerance. So that means the parties to a conflict communicable with one another to enhance communication between both sides. To enhance communication between both sides, dialogue mechanism such as dialogue groups or that problem solving that workshops provide that opportunities for both sides to express their needs and interest. ତେଣୁ ମଧ୍ୟସ୍ଥତା କରିବେ ଜଣେ କି କହିବ ଯେ ତମର ଅସୁବିଧା କ'ଣ ଅଛି ତାର କ'ଣ ଅସୁବିଧା କହିଲା ପରେ ତେଣୁ କ'ଣ ହବ ନା ଇନଟଲରେନ୍ସଟା ଧୀରେ ଧୀରେ ଟଲରେନ୍ସ ଆଡକୁ ଯିବ। So tolerance and harmony at state level and the tolerance and harmony in a community and international level केमति अछि हम देखिया। The tolerance is necessary for harmony between individual as expressed by Gandhi. Tolerance is necessary for harmony between individuals as expressed by Gandhi. Tolerance promotion and the that setting of the attitude of openness, mutual that lasting and solidarity should take place in schools and universities and home and in the working places. Gandhi emphasized that particular attention should be given to vulnerable groups. कोठी स्टेट कोच जो माने विपद संकुल अवस्था अछि So tolerance and harmony in a community and international level, the vulnerable person the groups so which are socially and economically disadvantaged. So as to afford them the protection of the laws. ଆଇନ ଦ୍ୱାରା ସେମାନଙ୍କୁ protection କରାଯାଉ social measure ତାଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ନିଆଯାଉ enforce in particular with regard to the housing, employment, health, to respect the authenticity of their culture and values, and to facilitate their social and occupational that advancement and integration, especially through education in community and that international levels. ये आधार कलम এটা হচ্ছে ডিল হচ্ছে কিভাবে টলারেন্ট এবং হারমোনি and similarly the role of education in making also harmonious society. Gandhi emphasized that education is the most effective means of providing that intolerance. Education, that means education will enlighten to a man. Suppose some misunderstanding is there due to lack of education. So education will also play an important role to create a harmonious society instead of intolerance or disharmonious society. Next, the foundation of democracy through tolerance. Tolerance is also the foundation of democracy and the human rights. Intolerance in multi-ethnic, multi-religious society leads to the violation of human rights, violence that or the armed conflict. Tolerance recognizes the universal human right and fundamental that freedoms of others. Similarly, it is also treated as the moral virtues and the religious tolerance. After thorough observation regarding the scriptures and the doctrines of world religion, it is an important that things the learner should give attention regarding this particular that version of Gandhi. After thorough observation regarding the scriptures and also doctrines of world religion on Gandhi, arrived at conclusion that all religions are more or less same. That means their preach is same. The philosophy is same. So he traces on that prayer, that non-violence, prayer, non-violence, celibacy is that a way of a spiritual enlightenment, and I believed that salvation was the ultimate goal of life. प्रत्येक धर्म रे काई पूजा करू काई मुक्ति पाइबे salvation of soul आत्मा आत्मा मुक्ति पाई मु होची कोन करची ना भगवान को डाकुची मु धर्म और साधक हेची. So Gandhi preached tolerance of all religions. Gandhi preached tolerance of all religions. Gandhi upheld tolerance and the lasting faith in non-violent coexistence of all religions. Secularism for Gandhi was an absolute necessity to bring about any form of constructive and all-encompassing political movement. ତେଣୁ religious tolerance ଟା ବୁଝିବା ପାଇଁ ଚାହୁଁଛନ୍ତି କାରଣ religious fundamentalists they create the religious intolerance. For this sake, he is of opinion that a conflict automatically invited through this religious intolerance and what we feel today. So similarly, untouchability and obstacle in the that harmonious society. ଛୁଆ ଛୁଆ ଭେଦଭାବ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଦେଖାଦିଏ ସେଟା ମଧ୍ୟ ହାରମୋନି ଡିସହାରମୋନି ମଧ୍ୟ କରେ. ଏବଂ ଇଣ୍ଟରନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ଡେ ଫର ଟଲରେନ୍ସ it is important that in order to generate public awareness that emphasize the dangers of intolerance and react to the renewed commitment and action in support of tolerance, promotion and education. UNESCO proclaimed 16th November is the annual International Day for Tolerance. Gandhi idea. So it has been spread throughout the world. Even the that UNO gave respect. And that is why UNESCO proclaimed the 16th November as the annual International Day for Tolerance. So that counting intolerance, law and education, access to information, individual awareness regarding that intolerance breeds intolerance. Intolerance breeds intolerance. असहनशीलता जन्म दिए असहनशीलता केमिति मेट लीव्स इट victims in pursuit of revenge. कौन है से या कला मु निश्चित भाव रे रिवेंज बहुत महंगा पड़िबो ए जो डायलॉग in order to fight intolerance, individuals should become aware of the link between their behavior and the various cycle of that particularly mistrust and also violence. Local situations the local situation that today tolerance appears again as what it was in its origin at the beginning of the modern period. The partition that partition go is that subversive that is liberating nation and the that is practiced. On the other hand, what is claimed and that practiced as a tolerance today is in many of its most effective that manifestation serving the that case of operation. ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଲୋକାଲରେ ଦେଖାଯାଉଛି ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାର ଇଣ୍ଟଲରେନ୍ସ ଅଛି ତାଙ୍କ ଗାଁରେ ଅମୁକ ହେଲା ଆମେ ଶୋଇପାରିବାନି ସେଠି ଏମିତି କହିଲେ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଟାଇପର ଯୋଉ ସବୁ ଲୋକାଲ ସିଚୁଏସନ ସବୁ ଆସୁଛି ତାକୁ ଟଲରେନ୍ସରେ କେମିତି ସମାଧାନ କରାଯାଇପାରିବ ଏବଂ ଲାଷ୍ଟ ବଟ୍ ନଟ୍ ଦି ଲିଷ୍ଟ that concept that is the forgiveness. So forgiveness is an also act of non-violence. That means and forgiveness that Gandhi has expressed that forgiveness is an that particularly attitude and he has prescribed this attitude for the stronger. Always stronger should give that should use the forgiveness and not the weaker. To giving up the right to harm others who harmed you. तमको जने के मारिला बा ताको तमे क्षमा दे आजिकली केही से कथा सुनबे से मारिला ये देटा लदी दे तम द वीक कैन नेवर फॉरगिव तम दुर्बल केबे होती क्षमा देनी तेनु गांधी बिलीव दैट फॉरगिवनेस वाज द बेस्ट वेपन to be used against the wrongdoers. That is change of heart in the opponent could be achieved. पराक्रमी विशेष ब्रिटिश सरकार जो हृदय को जय करने तेणु जिते सब जिते थर सी माड़ खाई जो लीडर माने जो प्रकार निर्यातना दिखाई पुणी जा भाव जो दाबी उपस्थापन कर that means he wanted to win the heart of the opponent or that particularly the enemies. This is the very that principle for which forgiveness has been adopted is a means through conflict can be resolved. So he believed that change of heart in the opponent is the real victory. It is the skill of self-giving love, forgiveness that grants pardon without harboring that resentment. Forgiveness is soon as that practice to prevent harmful thoughts from that causing that havoc on one's mental well-being. निश्चित भाव मानस पटरे से किसी प्रतिक्रिया जे सृष्टि करे तेणु जो ହାରମୋନିଟାକୁ ସେ ଗୁରୁତ୍ୱ ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି। So in this way we'll end this particular unit and will start the unit 3. Unit 3, that is community peace. It is also another important data topic presented by Mahatma Gandhi in his Gandhian approach. In this community peace, what he wants to say, the community peace that deals with the necessity of purging the community peace, a peaceful environment has to be that prevail. The condition of peace covers a broad spectrum in human life, both personal and social as well. The condition of peace covers a broad spectrum in human life, both personal as well as the social. So a situation that is peaceful for one group may be that oppressive for another. Many people understood that peace to be the absence of war. अनेक लोक बुझନ୍ତି जे युद्धर अनुपस्थित होची शांति. But while this is of course vital, but others see it as only the first step towards a full or ideal, as in that the interweaving of relationship between individual, groups and institutions that value diversity and foster the full development of human potential. So peace is the existence of a peaceful relationship, achieve association and planned cooperation among persons and groups for achieving greater aims such as justice, security and constructive that transformation of conflict. तेणु गोटे कम्युनिटी द्वारा ही यह होची समाधान है. A bigger community. So if they try to develop a community peace, so all should be joined in a cooperative way. So then only the community peace can be achieved. So here community is the center of ideals in Gandhi's that scheme of holistic development. तेणु जो भारत वर्षर जो विभिन्नता भितर जो एकता एवं जो होलिस्टिक जो डेवलपमेंट होची. So before any political demand, Gandhi always sought to bring about necessary changes in the community and get his ideas and methods well accepted by the community. तो जिते बेले से जेको से एक माने आरंभ करछ गोटे स्टेप गोटे परिवर्तन आनिबा पय सेते बेले आगर से कम्युनिटी जो रो स्ट्रेंथ है ताको देखि जे कम्युनिटी रा आगर होची पीस अछना ता माने की प्रकार पीस समते गोटिए कथा मानिबा दरकार एवं समस्त जो धारा रे चाहुचंदी ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ता समस्त एकमत होबा. So Gandhi tried to bring about the major changes in the Indian society through community peace. So he said that society is a group of individuals dwelling together that systematically that arises out that various activities to bring that happiness and the stabilization. जेमती आम विभिन्न प्रकार पर्वपर्वाणी जो आम द टुगेदरनेस आमको केमती भाव जो खुशी दूसरी गोटे आनंद दूसरी. As it is a unique blend of the diverse religions, cultures, races, its structure keeps changing with respect to time. I will give an example that Bal Gangadhar Tilak. So when he tried to bring the support from the people, So what he that started, what he done? Now he went to Maharashtra and he started that Ganapati Puja there. That means first he he wanted to organize a community in a peaceable way. Of course, he was the extremist. He was not the moralists, but he used the first the community. How the community can be organized in a peaceable way, then they will that resistance to the opponent. So Gandhi has press upon youth participation, bringing out various social reforms during his struggle for independence, like self-immolation of sati, ଅନେକ କଥା ଯୁବକମାନଙ୍କୁ ଇଏ କରିଛନ୍ତି କ'ଣ ନା କମ୍ୟୁନିଟି ପିସ୍ କେମିତି ଆସିବ ନା ସେ ସମୟରେ ଅନେକ ଯୋଉ ସମାଜର କୁସଂସ୍କାର ବିରୁଦ୍ଧରେ ସେ ସ୍ୱର ଉତ୍ତୋଳନ ମଧ୍ୟ କରିଛନ୍ତି ଅନଟଚେବଲ୍ସ କାଷ୍ଟ ସିଷ୍ଟମ ରିଲିଜିୟସ୍ ମିସଗାଇଡେନ୍ସ ଏ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଯେ ছোট ପିଲାମାନେ ବା ଛାତ୍ରଛାତ୍ରୀମାନେ ଏ ସବୁ ନିବୃତ୍ତ ରହିବା ଦରକାର ମିସଗାଇଡେନ୍ସ ଏବଂ ଯୋଉ untouchable caste system involved happen. The attributes that makes youth that through non-violence way, cooperation, justice, equality, and love that is possible. Non-violence has a social and spiritual significance. Non-violence has a social and spiritual significance, whereas force or aggression leads to a destruction of society. So violent feeling provoke conflict. Violent feeling provoke conflicts, so which grow in strength and threaten the very existence of society. So that is why Gandhi addressed to all the youth to follow non-violence attitude so that the community peace can be achieved. So in this unit, the student will learn the concept and the basic community peace, Gandhi's vision of community peace, and the people participation in maintaining the peace process. So, what is the base of community peace? In this regard, Gandhi considered about the truth as the ultimate goal of non-violence as the best method of achieving it. Absolute truth is omnipotent and all-encompassing. It is equivalent to divinity. Purity of means to achieve any end is also fundamental to Gandhi's approach. Rejecting the Machiavellian approach that end justify means, Gandhi said that particularly means justify the end. That ends and means are inseparable. So Gandhian philosophy has given traces on means justify the ends. But the Machiavellian approach that was end justify the means. ତେଣୁ ମାଧ୍ୟମ ଯଦି ସତ୍ୟ ଥାଏ ମାଧ୍ୟମ ଯଦି ଠିକ ଥାଏ ତେଣୁ ଆମେ ରେଜଲ୍ଟ ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ହୋଇପାରିବା. So Gandhi was a traces on the means to get ends. So good begets good and evil begets evil is a result and grows out of the means. ସେ ପ୍ରମାଣ କରିଦେଇଛନ୍ତି ଯେ ମାଧ୍ୟମ ଦ୍ୱାରା କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଏଣ୍ଡସଟାକୁ ମିଳିପାରେ. So in other words, Gandhi said that the root of every violence or conflict is untruth, and that the only permanent solution of conflict is the truth. To resolve the conflicts, he considered the non-violent techniques, that is satyagraha, which is the most potent method of ensuring a durable community peace. Satyagraha madhyamare କ'ଣ କରାଯାଏ? ସତ୍ୟାଗ୍ରହ is the non-violent technique through which the community peace can be achieved and the community peace will be durable. So Gandhi's vision in this regard, he says the Gandhi envisaged it is more than the absence of the conflict, violence. It implies a state of positive and constructive social order. The individuals, groups, and societies do not dominate or exploit one another and live in the cooperation and mutual aid. But Gandhiji maintained that so there cannot be a true and lasting peace unless there is equal opportunity for all. You see, the society, some are affluent and some are less, that means poor. So this is that inequality. Even in our society today, that if somebody out of his income, that means a hard work, so he earned some money. So he purchased a color pen. So there are those who that have already the color TV or the LCD, so they cannot tolerate that. So the Gandhiji is the idea that community peace can be achieved as and when all the people of that area to achieve the equal opportunity for all. That you cannot have the good social system when you find yourself low in the scale of that political rights, nor can you be fit to exercise political rights and privileges unless your social system is based on reason and justice. You cannot have a good economic system when your social arrangements are imperfect. If your religious ideas are low and that groveling, you cannot succeed in the ensuring the equal status for women and the access to opportunities for all is the ultimate that will bring independence to the people of India. ତେଣୁ ଯଦି ଭାରତ ବର୍ଷରେ ଯଦି ସମସ୍ତେ ଏଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଯେ ସୁଯୋଗ ପାଇବେ ବା ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କର ଯଦି ଉତ୍ଥାନ ହୁଏ ବା ସମସ୍ତେ ଯଦି ସମାନ ସୁଯୋଗ ପାଆନ୍ତି ତାହେଲେ ଆମେ କହିବା କମ୍ୟୁନିଟି ପିସ୍ ହେଇପାରିବ. So what we perceived from this community peace, from lessons from Gandhi's life as being threefold. कौन हमें पाइले community peace तो कौन हमें perceive कले कौन दा कले ना that the goal of struggle for peace and democracy is for the good of all. Again I am telling that what we that is perceived from the community peace expressed by Gandhiji, that the goal of struggle for peace and democracy is for the good of all, not a particular section, not just the good of the majority community. That one has to be prepared to make sacrifices to attain this. ये होची आगुते जे सत्याग्रही माने केवल सेटा को सैक्रिफाइस करते to attain this is community peace sacrifice करते. That political power, number 3, that political power in itself does not result in peace and democracy. We have to and strive for peace and democracy. राजनीतिक क्षमता नहीं, हमें जो कम्युनिटी चिंता करिवा दरकार जे केवल भाव पीस टम चाहिए. Hence individual is an integral part of the whole for community peace. For strengthening that probability of peace at the societal and the national level, the beginning has to be made at the level of the individual psychology. Gandhi believed that the sources of peace and the conflict lie in minds of men. The question of world peace is ultimately about achieving that conquest of the self. Man can appreciate and live by the principle of truth and non-violence. So, here is that Gandhian idea that this community peace can be achieved. So, through mutual understanding and the equal opportunity and the some people of this community they should prepare to sacrifice and that particularly through and the truth and non-violence also the principle through which the uh, the community peace can be achieved. The community peace ପାଇଁ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର ମଧ୍ୟ ଆବଶ୍ୟକତା ଅଛି। So the Gandhian that community peace is also not free from the criticism. How the Gandhi's views of a community peace and vision of a peace is not free from criticism. Why? Because his ideas have been criticized as utopian, idealistic, inconsistent, and catastrophic. Critique has questioned that ethical and the practical basis of Gandhi's non-violent philosophy. Critics are of opinion that even a non-violent act can acquire moral character under certain circumstances. Some scholars argue that Gandhi did not that comprehend all the complexities of that societies or give an effective practical plan of the community peace. So he was a practical idealist. He would ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ଆଦର୍ଶ କଥା ଏଠି କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଏବଂ ଯାହାକି ଗୋଟେ ମାନେ ଇମୋସନାଲ ହେଇକି ଏବଂ ଗୋଟେ କଳ୍ପନା କରିକି କଥା ହଉଛି କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଯେ ପ୍ରକୃତରେ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲିଟି ତ ଦେଖିନାହାନ୍ତି। His contribution be judged on the basis of what he did rather than on the basis of what he wrote about this. କଣ ସେ ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି କିନ୍ତୁ ଯେ what he did rather ତେଣୁ despite the criticism about this concept, no one can deny the fact that very few had given such a powerful moral thrust in social relations and argued for justice and community life. So, in conclusion, we can say that from the above discussion, we can say Gandhi's life taught us that it is easy to postulate principles. It is easy to postulate principles, but very difficult to put them into practice. ଗାନ୍ଧୀ ଯାହା ସବୁ କହିଯାଇଛନ୍ତି ଯୋଉ ଆମର କମ୍ୟୁନିଟି ପିସ୍ ହଉ ବା ଟଲରେସନ୍ ଆମକୁ ତ କିଏ ଗୋଟେ ଚାପୁଡା ପକେଇଲା ବେଳକୁ ଆମେ ପଟାସ କିନା ଆମେ ନ ପକେଇକି ରହିପାରୁନାହାନ୍ତି ଆଉ କିନ୍ତୁ କେମିତି ଭାବେ ଇଏ କରିବ ତେଣୁ ଗାନ୍ଧୀ ଲାଇଫ୍ that taught us that it is easy to postulate the principles but very difficult to put them into practice. What has happened in the Gandhi's life during the British imperialism? So believing in the peace and a good life for all is an ideal principle. But the final step is putting into practice what we have learned or begin to believe in. So this step is what eventually determines the quality of our lives. So in this way, we conclude the unity 3. Next, we'll start unity 4. The peace among the nations. It is also an important unit, peace among the nations. Gandhian approach also touch the high place. So Gandhi was not thinking about India, the community peace or the tolerance, the harmony, the forgiveness, all these things not for India. So he had that world figure, hmm, and the ambassador of peace world also. So that is why he was wanting that if peace in nation would be established, then all the human beings they can sustain in the planet Earth peacefully what we want. So in this unit, that peace among nations rightly points to the necessity of peace prevailing among the community of nations. Peace thinking has influenced both the peace movement as well as peace research worldwide. And you see, but that in the just 15 days before, what was the situation of war? There was every possibility of a third world war due to Chinese aggressiveness. Now we are also passing through a war, that is the particular not a nuclear war, that is the biological war. That a particular germ, the particular germ which is also created by that China's laboratory, and which is created that ocean of that disturbances through the world. All the states, small and large, they are thinking about how to the human resources can be served. So the different type of that human, that particular skilled human, they are losing their life in this war. That is pandemic COVID-19. So peace thinking has influenced both the peace movements as well as the peace research worldwide. One long-standing that area of peace studies has been the effect of that integration between societies and of the sectors within the societies, sections within the society. Integration is indicated by the high rate of exchange of goods, people, and ideas across societal and group lines relative to exchange within. आदान प्रदान माध्यमରେ किभଳି ଭାବେ ଆମେ ସମ୍ପର୍କ ସ୍ଥାପନ କରିପାରିବା ଏବଂ जो peace among nations can be maintained. The research findings that support the generalization that integration improves communication and exchange between the integrating parties, and more importantly enhances the mutual security and reduces the probability of war or threatening each other identity, particularly when such an integration is perceived to be equitable. Now, peace workers have been giving enough attention to fostering mutual understanding and tolerance, among peoples that within different cultural backgrounds living in the same society. आमे बुझामणारे କେମିତି ବଞ୍ଚିବା, କାରଣ ଯଦି ଭାଉଲେନ୍ସ ଫାଇଟ୍ ହଉଛି ତମର ବି ଧନ ଜୀବନ ନଷ୍ଟ ହବ, ଆମର ବି ଧନ ଜୀବନ ନଷ୍ଟ ହବ। So in this particular unit we will discuss the concept of that international peace system, approach to the study of peace, the movement for peace of Gandhiji's scheme of moral federation, and the peace among nations. We acknowledge peace among nations. So, in each unit, the I just I have focused the particular the essence of the topic, peace among nations. Similarly, the other topics. So, international peace system. Most of the peace thinking has concentrated on the problem of power shall best be distributed among the nations of the world. This international peace system is a concept of global conflicts. Global conflict resolution and depend on non-violent process to eradicate war. What international politics says that gaining power, a power game among the nation, and how a state, bigger nation, they will be benefit. In that international that politics, what he says that is conflict for power. It is a power game which always that create the violence, terror, and it always give a totally situation to the human existence. It is relies upon a multi-standard approach to conflict resolution, incorporating broad social and political solutions. In contemporary peace and conflict studies, the concept of a global, that international peace system has been evolving since 1940 around the theory that there is a international infrastructure of peace building, and that there is a need for systems thinking in the peace building. The pacifist advocates the international peace system desire conflict. It is an important thing. If all the states they will forgive the test and also the use of nuclear armament, and they will follow the disarmament policy, then international peace can be possible. International peace can be possible. Hmm. The because the desire that arm race which is threatening the human society a long way. The let's see the pacifism asserts that this state may be that obstinate that unilaterally by the effect of that example, because which one becomes meaning Are you audible? Hello. So there is hello, hello, dear Lala. Are you audible? Hello. Acha, okay. So there is a technical glitch. So sorry for that inconvenience. Now you see that topic which was on a discussion that international peace system and that approach to the study of peace. That initially peace education focused on the armed race, disarmament, deadly conflict and war. But peace studies, peace studies are inclusive of a vast range of approaches and experiments in many that innovative ways of that thinking have been developed. But now that is peace research. Peace research is concerned with the development, accumulation, and discovering of the knowledge about the causes of war and the conditions of the peace. ଆଉ ସେ କ୍ଷମତା ପାଇଁ ଯୋଉ ଲୋଭ ବା କ୍ଷମତା ପାଇଁ ଯୋଉ ଗେମ୍ ଖେଳିବା ଆଉ କେହି ଚାହୁଁନାହାନ୍ତି. Now the peace researcher are thinking how the war can be that that evaporated and how war would be that out from the scene and how a coordination, cooperation, and the peace can be achieved. The approach to the study of a peace includes the political economy approach, uh, political approach, feminist approach, environmental approach, and the functional approach to understand the peace studies. So the political approach, what you say, the political economy approach, draw the attention to the political and economic structure of the international system. So which that create condition for inequality, inequitable distribution of wealth among and within a nation. The political economy approach examine the nature of modern political economy and its implication for social and international conflict. How the all the state will get and how all the state will develop in a economic sound position. Regarding the environmental approach that is that all the states they should develop the idea how the environment, ecological that resources can be maintained. It is not the that the duty of a single nation. So the north, south, east, west, all the nations they should do that try their sincerely how the ecosystem can be maintained. If ecosystem will not be maintained, if biodiversity will not be in a position, so the planetary Earth cannot provide the peaceable life or the good life. The that means the sustainable development will be impossible. So the planet is gradually making towards the overloading the that carrying capacity with a rapid growth of population. So competition for limited resources may lead to that violent conflicts. तो गोटे जगह रे आमे देखियो गोटे गाँ रे गोटे जमी वर्तमान 7 भाग हेलानी तो conflict obviously. So the threats to that sustain life caused by the resource scarcity increase the probability of a social unrest and war. ତେଣୁ जो एनवायरमेंटल अप्रोच ପାଇଁ ମଧ୍ୟ ସବୁ ନେସନ ଚିନ୍ତା କରିବା ଦରକାର And the functional approach while the real task of that our common society is the conquest for poverty, ignorance, disease, the existing state system based on sovereignty is not only inadequate but also an obstacle of to finding solution to global problems. Functionalist C promoting peace in three different ways. It solves basic human problems that are the root cause of war. Functional that organization enables the countries to feed their hungry by developing a new strains of wheat and rice. It subverts the sovereignty of nation state. Functional activity create within that country, even within the government groups. Government groups which interests are closely tied with the international interest. For example, a health ministry, which is making use of the whose technical act may become that advocate of world cooperation. Apart from giving some people inside a country vested interest in international activity, functional activists may foster international loyalty among people, laws, and counteract the handful thus national activities. ତେଣୁ ତେଣୁ ଫଙ୍କସନାଲିଷ୍ଟ ମାନେ ଚିନ୍ତା କରିବା ଦରକାର କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଯୋଉ ନେସନ ୱାଇଡ୍ ପିସ୍ ଆଭେଲେବଲ୍ ହେବ ତେଣୁ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ ଦରକାର ତେଣୁ ପିସ୍ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ ଦ ପିସ୍ ୱାର୍ official peace movement had developed from that aspiration of religious mist based on almost exclusively on the principle of the wickedness of all wars into the moon. So, particularly the greatest movement is that the peace movement have that raised public awareness of nuclear issue across the international boundaries. You know, particularly greatest movement that the peace movement have raised that public awareness in the nuclear issue across the international. ଏଇଟାକୁ ଯଦି ପାରମାଣବିକ ଯୋଉ ଘଟଣା ବା ତାର ଅସ୍ତ୍ରଶସ୍ତ୍ରର ଯୋଉ ପ୍ରତିଯୋଗିତା ଏବଂ ତାର ୟୁଜ୍ ଏ ବିଷୟରେ ସାରା ବିଶ୍ୱ ସଚେତନ ହେବା ଦରକାର we will develop peace instead of the war. So that is why Gandhi wanted a world federation and a peace among nations. ଯଦି ସାରା ବିଶ୍ୱ ଗୋଟେ ହଉଛି ରାଷ୍ଟ୍ର ମାନେ ସଂଘୀୟ ରାଷ୍ଟ୍ର ସେଥିରେ ସମସ୍ତେ ଗୋଟେ ୟୁନିଟ୍ according to the Gandhi, peace cannot be achieved without the reaching the concept and techniques expressed by him. So it is important to understand his techniques and try to replace that present techniques which advocate violence. Peace will never come until the great power courageously decide to disarm themselves. Unless big nations shed their desire of exploitation to the inferior nations and the inevitable consequence, there is no hope for peace in the world. Thus, Gandhi was hoped for a world federation of free and independent states. For the world federation and peace among the nations, he has suggested to give up some traditional attitude. Traditional attitude means the power hankering, power game, and the conflict for power. This philosophy, this idea should be forgiven by, should be given up by the nations if they want the peace and to the persistence of civilization. So that is why the he has suggested arm race should be stopped, man versus machine, and particularly perfect peace. Regarding perfect peace, Gandhi was of opinion love would be adopted as the means for achieving perfect peace. Peace without love is violence, and love without peace is also violence. So he prescribed the concept of love should work replacing the use of force concept, which would create the cycle of love all over the world. So instead of force, the nation should develop the attitude of that cooperation, coexistence, love attitude. Then the world in the 21st century will be the century of love instead of violence. Gandhi was an advocate of non-violence and to peace and adopted how that violence in that war. Hence, he told the search for peace should be the way of non-violence alone. Gandhi solution of a peaceful world କେମିତି କଣ ସେ suggestion କରିଛନ୍ତି ନା to eliminate war and to establish peace in the world. Gandhi looked to statesmen and the nations to use or develop certain methods and institutions. The chief method of these are that third party settlement, world government, disarmament, and an international police force. He also recommended that satyagraha is a substitute for military action. So, for solution of that peace among the nations and a peaceful world, he was of opinion the third party settlement. So, the nation lagichi jhagada, third party should be that mediate to solve the problem. And that world government, Vishwa Sarkar, এবং তাହାର ତୀକ୍ଷ୍ଣ ଦୃଷ୍ଟି ରହୁ ଏବଂ ନିରସ୍ତ୍ରୀକରଣ ସମସ୍ତେ ମାନି ନିଅନ୍ତୁ ଏବଂ ସାରା ବିଶ୍ୱରେ ଗୋଟେ ପୋଲିସ ଫୋର୍ସ କ୍ରିଏଟ ହଉ ଯେ ଯୋଉ ଦେଶ ସନ୍ତୁଳିତ ହଉଛନ୍ତି ଏକ୍ସପ୍ଲୋର ହଉଛନ୍ତି ତାକୁ ହେଉଛି ସୁରକ୍ଷା ଦେବା ଏବଂ along with he has also recommended the struggle that a satyagraha is the substitute for military action. So, however, from the above discussion relating to the peace among nations, that we will conclude here that peace among nations that Gandhi prescribed the non-violence is the means through which peace among nations can be achieved. In this ground, all the nations should give respect to the Gandhian techniques of peace in the world. Good means alone can lead us to everlasting peace if we follow the Gandhian principles. Last but not the least, dear learner, you give me the 15 minutes more so that I can touch the last unit in a nutshell, that understanding that the sources of conflict. It is also important. It is the another block, the sources of conflict. Unless until the student or the statesman will not that acknowledge where is the sources of conflict, how can the conflict resolution can be made. So the mediator or the third man, they should also develop the sense of idea that where is the sources of conflict. Dear learner, you see, generally we mean conflict is a class of interest. The basis of conflict may vary, but it is always a part of society. Basis of conflict may be personal, racial, class, caste, political, and international. Conflict in a group often follows a specific cause. Conflict often caused by differences of opinion. Without difference of opinion, conflict exists. Disagreement to conflict as between members of the society resources, do the resource scarcity of resources. There is also conflict. At this point, the group is no longer united. Have a प्रकार परिस्थिति कौन सी गोष्ठी ये एकरूप है नहीं, and may split into the categories. विभिन्न भाग भाग हेबे के होची माने मिलित संगठन करियो like so on. So conflict is a relationship between two or more individuals and groups. So who have think that they have that incompatible goals and needs. So now we'll see the cause of a conflict. Before we know the source, we have to see the cause of a conflict. There are different causes of a conflict, and identifying the factors that give rise. The cause of a conflict has been classified into two different terms, that is immediate causes and underlying causes. Then what is immediate cause? That are those events which may trigger violence. Those events जो घटना गुड़िक हठात माने गोटे भयंकर जो हिंसात्मक सृष्टि करे. So it is as an event sufficiently related to their injury that the courts deem the event the cause of that injury. For example, the assassination of that Archduke Ferdinand in Australia in June 1930, which was that immediate cause of the beginning of the First World War. Similarly, the immediate cause that when China just they crossed the LOC of India and they shoot one commander. So thing is that where is the conflict arises? That is the immediate cause. That means the immediate a violent that situation will arise. The underlying causes, in the other hand, so these are the fundamental and long-term causes, which creates the condition in which that immediate triggers of conflict that occur. The immediate and underlying causes are interconnected, but in conflict resolution, more attention needs to be paid, needs to be given to identifying the underlying and the root causes if we want to work sustainable. यदि शांति आमे चाहती चिरंतन शांति आमे चाहती तने आमे अंडरलाइन कोज को कोन आमे जानिबा दरकार. So now we will see the sources of a conflict. What is the sources of a conflict, and then next we will try how it can be solved. The sources of a conflict that are many. These are that particularly information, miscommunication, resources, relationship, then the interest and needs, power, governance, rights, culture, religion, that identity, values. These are the sources of the conflict. Taking into consideration of this particular source of conflict, the entire world are in the position of the conflict situation. Just I am touching the one after another point, that miscommunication. So ineffective communication is another source of conflict, even if there are no incompatibilities between the groups and individuals. Miscommunication and misunderstanding can lead to conflict. You see, that was the situation in the Cold War period. Mistrust, misinformation. Similarly, the relationships are an important thing of human life. Gandhi was in fact always keen to cooperate with the opponent to build relationship, which would form the basis for a sound that post-conflict life. Similarly, that interest and needs. ସେଥିପାଇଁ ସ୍ୱାର୍ଥ ଏବଂ ଆବଶ୍ୟକତା ନେଇ ମଧ୍ୟ ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ କନଫ୍ଲିକ୍ଟ ହେଉଛି. Non-fulfillment of interest of a group or some states or some particular marginalized groups are major source of conflict. Similarly, power. It is a vital element for the conflict situations. Conflicts either center on the search for more power or fear of losing the same. Which काले मान जेतबेले हारी जीवा पाई काले हारी जीवे सेतबेले द्वंद्व मध्य सृष्टि करा होछि. The power conflict can occur between the individuals, groups, nations, which are both sides choose to take a power of relationship and that wish to maintain amount of influence that they exact in the relationship. तो की प्रकार से माने जो नौचंदी पावर को अचीव करिया पे मतलब पावर मध्य गोटे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रो सोर्स. Similarly, governance that relate the decision that defines the expectations, grant of power or the performance. जेतबेले सरकार जो डिसीजन टा निया जाउछ किछि लोकंकर आशा आकांक्षा होई होछि मध्य कोन क्षति करछि एवं सेतेबेले समाने आरंभ कले जे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट about its existence, the social unrest arises. आरंभ करते होछि आंदोलन. So the governance also is a source of conflict. Similarly, rights, violation of rights and the struggle for the elimination of these violations are at the heart of many conflicts. Gandhi had always stressed on the centrality of individual and felt that society could not be built on the denial of individual freedom. ଯେତେବେଳେ ମାନବିକ ଅଧିକାରକୁ ମାନେ ଅବହେଳା କରାଯାଇଛି ସେତେବେଳେ ହେଉଛି ଆସିଛି ବିପ୍ଳବ ଆସିଛି କନଫ୍ଲିକ୍ଟ ଆସିଛି. American War of Independence or the particularly the France Revolution and the today's we see in the different states that they are creating that havoc. They are creating a demand that special status, that secessionation from the central government, all these things. So similarly, the religion, it is that particularly relevant to conflict because it may that contain strong claims to exclusivity. Conflict between two religions has occurred throughout history, but in contemporary period, some of the major religions of the world are witness to that surge in fundamental elements which that loss conflicts. Something the fundamentalist of a particular religion, they are creating the nuisance. They are also giving wrong ideas, wrong philosophy, the wrong preaching of the religion to the a particular community, so that the conflict arises among the two religions. But Gandhi said the religious priests of various religions are same. But we are also, we ourselves creating the situation regarding the communal area and the communal violence. The Ram and Rahim both preach the same. If we all the human beings derived from one source, that is fatherhood of God, and we are brotherhood of man. So why the conflict? But the religious priest, the religious fundamentalists, they are also sometimes created the conflict. Then identity. It is also another source of conflict. Identity is called to describe a person's sense of self and the relation of the self to the world. ମୁଁ କଣ ମୋର ପରିଚୟ କଣ? With the rise in identity consciousness, religion, language, ethnicity are increasingly serving as the fulfilled that faultiness for country. In the name of religion, some are getting the country. The language, our language should be given a priority. Ethnicity, the group of ethnic group that in you see that Gurkhaland or the Nagas or the Gurus, so they want the specific land and their culture identification. They are also increasingly that serving as that partners for conflict. In contemporary times, you see the ethnicity is seen as one of the most important that elements of identity and the underlying cause of most on the conflict. So it is also the sources of conflict. Then values also the sources of conflict. These are the beliefs that serve their identity and a faith perspective that give the meaning to their lives, incompatibility in ways of life and the ideologies, such as the that performances, principles, and practices that people believe can lead to the value conflict. The value conflict. କ'ଣ ମାନେ ମୂଲ୍ୟବୋଧ ପାଇଁ ଗୋଟେ particular things value ପାଇଁ ମଧ୍ୟ ହେଉଛି କ'ଣ conflict ମଧ୍ୟ କରାଯାଏ. So these are the some sources of conflict. So these sources of conflict can be solved through non-violent means. So what we learn from this understanding sources of a conflict. If sources of a conflict will not be identified, so the peacemaker, peace researcher cannot go ahead for conflict resolution. So, from the above discussion, it can be concluded that the violent conflict is not caused by the biological factors alone, but the interaction between biological, psychological, and the social determinants. Gandhi too saw conflict is built into the social structures, not into people. There are several specific sources of conflict, what we narrated, that appear in the polity, society, and cultural life of modern human beings. Most modern conflicts do not involve just one source, but a combination of sources. You see, in a state or a group, so they are not demanding. They are not demanding and they are not conflicting with that for a one source. So the conflict that are arising in different ways. So the modern conflict do not involve just one source. এই ସବୁ source ମାନେ ଗୋଟିଏ ଘଟଣାକୁ ନେଇକି ଗୋଟିଏ conflict source a group of sources are there. So these conflicts can be that are solved through persuasion, through non-violence that way, through Gandhian approach to that peace and the conflict resolution. So thank you, dear learner. So just I finished the as per the schedule, the 1/3 of the MGPE-008, and in the next class we will follow from unit 6 to 10. Is there any that problem or is there any question, any doubt? ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ ଶୁଭା ଯାଉଛି ତ? Hello. Hello, dear student. Now I'm asking you, is there any problem? Otherwise, you give your feedback. So within a limited span of time, I just covered that 5 units in a nutshell, and I have given my PDF file to Pravasa, and that so through your mail, so he can provide you. Now we'll stop our presentation. So you should give importance the understanding piece, and also that dear student, the question will be asked in your that government examination, that discuss the various sources of conflict. Discuss the various sources of conflict. That Monorama. Achha, okay. कार कौन पचारिबार अछि कि समस्त ताले शांति चाहूं, गांधीयन पीस, चाहो ना चाइना पीस चाहो?